Hi everyone, my name's Lou Sims and welcome to my channel. Today is a little bit different. I'm part of a YouTube hop for World Card Making Day and I'm sharing an idea that I can use the same products but create two different style cards. Now, listed below will be everybody taking part in the YouTube hop, so after you've watched my video, would love it if you then popped over to support them too. So I thought we'd use the Pretty Alarming dies. I'm using my Frame It With Flowers Shady Design stamp set, and I'm just going to also bring in, sorry, it's in its packet, the Shady Designs Floral Explosion die set. I want to try and do two different ideas using the same products. Just different colorways, different things like that. But I thought that would be nice because sometimes it's getting, you know, we can think of one idea, but it's taking one idea and mutating it off in completely different ways. I hope that makes sense. So I have gone ahead and I have prepped loads already. So I've gone for two different colorways and two different styles. So for one card, I'm going a traditional square. And for the other card, I'm going a 7x5. I love a 7x5 card. And I've stuck to two different colours. And I've just stuck to a pink and a blue. Because I thought it'd be a little bit easier to do that. I'm going to start with this one. And we'll just move this one out of the way. And let's make sure I don't lose everything. I'm just going to move everything up into the corner there. And pray I don't lose it. So, like I said, I have gone ahead and done a lot of bits and pieces, only because, like I said, die cutting, and also there's a lot, I probably went a bit OTT with the die cutting. So I've cut out all the numbers and the hands, and I did cut them out twice because I thought it would be nice to layer them up so they stood out a little bit more on the card. You don't need to because they're commanding enough images. And I've cut out the central panel from the Shady Designs Floral Explosion die. And the die is designed to have bits that stay in, pop out, so you can, so I'm just going to grab a number just you can tuck things automatically behind and build up a scene with the actual die itself. And, you know, you could add in whatever you want to add in. In the Pretty Alarming, you get the back panel, you get the front panel. And this panel here is what you would put where you see all those little dots that create the 3D. But for this card, all I've done is I have just cut out this panel here and the alarm clock bits. I think they could be done for like Christmas, like ear muffies. Maybe that's just me being wishful thinking. So, and I've cut one out in like a brush steel effect. It's not mirror card. I struggle with mirror card. But this is like a brush steel effect because I thought that would be a nice contrast, a subtle contrast against the cream. So I'm just going to stick this in place. And then I have gone ahead and stamped, only because I wanted to cut them out, the Frame It With Flowers. I've taken the main stamp image there and a couple of the smaller stamps. And I've cut them out and I've used the VersaFine Clair, I want to say Sea Breeze, but I think that's not quite right. And I've cut some of the other elements as well from the stamp set, like I said, some of the smaller elements. So I'm just going to start by adding some colour to the background here. And I want to keep the colour quite subtle, not in your face. So this will end up being a 6x6 card. I had to think what the size was. You know when you cut it all out yourself and you can't remember. So as this one is blue, I'm going to start with the blue. And I've gone for, so this will be, I'm hoping it will show up, but it's going to be, because it's such a light colour, I've gone for Tumbled Glass Distress. Because I want to have a background, but I want it to be a really quite a subtle background. And I'm picking the background stamp from the same stamp set. So it's going to be a really, really, really subtle. I'm not going for perfect stamping. I just want it to be a nice subtle background. There we go. Let's just move you, put the lid on for the moment. So we've got a really subtle, so this now will sit on the top. I'm going to probably ink just a little bit of the edges, but we'll do that in a moment. And I'm only going to put a little bit of subtle ink where there is some stamping on the edge of the card. So I have a little bit of the cream showing through. So I haven't completely inked around every little bit. Just where there's a little bit of stamping there. And I'm going to bring in my stamped images. Now, originally I was going to leave these, but I think I might colour them. I wasn't 100% sure if I was. Now, I'm using a water brush only because I normally prefer to use a paintbrush. I've decided to wash all my paint pots because they were being a bit grim. And I just want to add a tiny splash of colour to the stamps. In my head, what I thought was, I want to try and keep this cream. I could outline it, but I think we'll keep it cream. Was that the actual clock is going to sit on there. I've got my flower that is going to sit along the top. And then I've got, I love this. I think these are so cool. I've got my alarm clock pieces, which are going to sit along there. And then I've got all the different numbers. So I've cut all the numbers out, even though I might not actually need them. And I can use them in and amongst the decoration. So for example, I've got the 3. So we can put a flower there a little bit more and then have the 3 on top. I've got the hands, which I am going to add. So I always have to do a dry run first, just to plan in my head if everything's going to get glued where I said it's going to get glued. Like I said, and I can add some more flowers, and then I can start putting the numbers in and amongst the flowers and in amongst the display. So that was in my head how it was going to go, not necessarily having to put them on the clock, you know, per se. So, and make it just look a little bit different. So that was the idea in my head. So we'll start putting it all together. I'm just going to tip everything there. And I'm just going to grab my card blank because I forgot to pull that out. That was a bit silly. I've got this now sitting here very, very subtly. As I said, I wanted the colours to be quite subtle. So like the clock stood out and the stamped flowers stood out. And everything else was there to make those stand out. So we've got that there. And I've got that panel going on there. And then we've got this panel here. Okay, so I'm just putting Probably a little bit overkill with the 3D foam, but never mind. And I've got my clock, and I'm going to put a little bit of 3D foam on there. So this is going to be quite a raised card, actually. And I'm not going to put foam on this one all the way round, because I want to have gaps that if I do want to tuck anything else, I can do so. Right, so that now is going to sit there like that. So we've got the beginning of the card, and then I've got my alarm clock pieces. I'm going to sit there. We'll just need to put a little bit of 3D foam. I'm going 3D foam mad. It's like famine or feast with me. Right, and now rather than put it onto the top, I want to put this at a slightly jaunty angle, just for something a little bit different. Right, so we've got this image here, and I want to put the image so it's sitting, like I said, amongst the actual clock. Now, I haven't chosen a sentiment yet, and the main reason is I do struggle putting sentiments on straight away. Does anybody else? Do you think of a sentiment before making, or... See, I make and then think of the sentiment, and that doesn't always work. So I have to live with a project sometimes just to, before I put a sentiment on it. Right, I'm just going to decide. So this now, it's just going to say, so it could technically go or horizontal, vertical or horizontal. Quite like it horizontal now I've seen it. So we'll do this one horizontal because I want to do 2 cards, and we'll do the other one vertical. Okay, so this is now going to sit there horizontal. Now this is where I wish I hadn't stuck some of these down, but that's fine. So we've got some of these elements here, and I can bring in some of the numbers now. Pieces. So what I have done is I have die cut from the floral explosion some other different elements, so I can now bring out the design just a little bit more. So I'm just going to stick along the bottom here. Now, you could do the hands to being someone's birthday. I'm just doing it random because I quite like the idea of it being random. So that's like my first idea. I've got one of the numbers left that I can easily, you know, add in. But so that was like an idea of using the clock in a completely different way with the flowers to make, I suppose, quite a pretty card. I need to let it all dry. I would put a sentiment here, so I could have, if I wanted to do a stamped sentiment, or I could put, like I've got one here, I'd have to matte and layer it. This one here says birthday wishes, so I could easily put a die cut sentiment along as well, or I could take a sentiment, so I could put, you know, stamp out today is full of possibilities, and it would go along the bottom there. But I'll live with the design and see from there which way I'm going to go. So that was just one idea using it. So I do keep all those little bits. I'll move you out of the way. So what I wanted to do, again, using the same elements as before. So this time round, what I've done is I've die cut the back panel. I've then, which we need to glue together, die cut these, you know, the face panel together. So I might as well glue those in. Right, so we've got that part there. So I've gone for a completely different colour this time. So I've gone for like a rose gold. And so we've got that part there. Again, I've got the, I want to call them earmuffs. They're not, they're like the alarm bells, aren't they, sort of thing. It's because I've got in my head that they're earmuffs now. I could use them as earmuffs. So we've got those two. So we're going for a completely different colourway this time. And same flowers, same design, but this time I've gone for a pink. And I did that also in the VersaFine Clair, because obviously I want to watercolour. But this time round, what I want to do, so my chair decided to slide back, was I want to create the full clock, because you get the die cut piece left. So when I die cut that out, you get a whole piece left. So what I did was, rather than before when I did the die for the floral explosions, I've actually just die cut it into the circle to create all those bits, which will sit in the centre of the clock once I've layered it all up. So I thought this time round this would look like one of those clocks that has, you know, decorated centre where you see all the enamels and everything like that. I've done the numbers, but rather than grey, I've gone for black this time. And I've done exactly the same die cut foliage, but I've brought in the rose gold. But what I have done differently this time is, this is a 7x5 card rather than a square. And, excuse me, the Floral Explosions has a sentiment on it. And it's got on it, I'm reading them now, it's got birthday wishes for you and happy, 5 different dies. And what I've done is I've die cut the birthday and the wishes out multiple times from cream. I don't know about anybody else, but I end up keeping, you know, when you make your own card blanks, you end up with a strip. And I always think in my head, oh, that'll be great for stamping sentiments on and everything like that. And before I know it, I end up with a box full of those. So it was a great way of using all these up. But what I wanted to do was, I wanted to, rather than a stamp background, I wanted to give the illusion that I've got like a textured, embossed background just using the dies. So it's giving me, I know this card is going to be a birthday card, but it's giving me a sort of tactile element as well. So it's just going to do, and it will be the most subtle little bit of inking. Instead, I've gone for quite soft distress colours. I haven't gone for picked raspberry or anything like that. If it's going to be in the background, I want it to stay in the background, as it were. And I'm just going to ink I'm just bringing those colours there. So now we've got that going down the side there. And I'm going to use the same colour. I'm just going to put some down because I might colour these flowers, but I might leave them as they are. So we've got nice, like, subtle edging there so it stands out. I've just got a subtle nod there that it, like a shadow, that you know, there is a sentiment there. Right. So just to raise it up. I'm going to put that other central panel in and we can build a design from there. So this is now going to go in the centre. And I've got that element there. And I'm going to put a couple of foam pads on. So we've got that going along there, and I've got the flowers, and I want to add, so before we added it at a jaunty angle, and this time I'm just going to add it so that they're separate from the actual clock itself. Right, and this time, as I said, this is going to go horizontal. And I've got that there. So now I've got all the numbers and the hands and some of the other elements as well. So I'm going to use them. Right, so what I want to do is I just want to build up, and I'm going to go, this is why I don't put all the foam pads all the way around. It means I can then add different layers inside the card, and I can then elongate a design, or if I mess up with glue, I can then cover it all. So the numbers don't have to be numbers. The numbers can be embellishments as well as, you know, numbers on the clock. same products, but using them in a completely different way. So I'll lift them up a bit because the light here. So this was just using blue and sticking to the same colours in the background as I coloured the images. And then this was sticking to a pink and like a rose gold mirror card. Well, it's not mirror card. I'm trying to think what they're called. You know, like a brushed effect. I don't know. I've forgotten what they're called. But so that was two completely different ways using your same product to create, you know, the same design but squidged in a different way. I hope that makes sense. I think I just did a load of waffle, which didn't make a blind bit of sense. Thank you ever so much for your company. In the description box below will be a list of everybody taking part on the YouTube pot and links to my blog and anything else I can think of. Thanks again. Take care. See you soon.